everyone, and welcome to Smells Like Teen Angst. We are here to talk about the new episode of Pretty Little Liars Summer School, chapter, I don't know what chapter, but episode 7. Before we get started, we've gotten a lot of new viewers, listeners. Please make sure you're subscribed. I know a lot of us came to you from suggestions, so hopefully you've stuck around and you like us enough to hit that subscribe button. And let's get talking, which I just learned from some of our comments. I haven't forgotten to introduce you guys. I just had a thought and I had to run with it. That the names of the episodes are really fun, but because we watched screeners up to this point, we never got to see the names of the episodes. But anyway.
Hi, I'm Jordan, and I realized that this week when I was logging in to watch the shows on Max, I was like, oh, the episodes have gold titles. What the hell?
I know.
Yeah, and it's cute too. Like, what was this one? Who's Afraid of the Boogeyman?
Yeah, it's like all horror movie themed. So now I'm like, maybe I'll change the titles on our videos to like match. I don't know. I'll play with it. You know, I play with stuff all the time. But yes, I'm joined with Keiki and Jordan as always.
Hi.
Hello. I just want to read, because we didn't get to read comments because we had to record the last couple weeks back to back. We have some fun comments to talk about. Let's start here. Malik Kareem said, if Kevin and Greg are cousins, that would mean technically Greg is also related to Josie McCoy. And that is something that I cannot support. Because if you remember on Riverdale, Kevin's dad, Sheriff Keller, married the mayor, Josie's mom. So yeah. Kevin and Josie are step siblings.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, but it would be by marriage, not by blood. So.
Yeah. Greg may not even know that his uncle got married. Let's be real.
I mean, true. Like, I feel, was Greg at the wedding? Probably not, even though it's like 20 minutes away. Let's see. Another one. Franny Doll 8313. Johnny talks to Imogen like he's a therapist. He could have learned that from his mom, Dr. Sullivan. And I know we'll talk more about this as this episode goes on. But I don't know if I believe Dr. Sullivan's story. We'll get more into it. I am still in the Johnny is her son camp, even after this episode. But I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't like it. I'm here for it. And then
let him be a sweet himbo. Everyone talks like therapists now. Thanks, Instagram.
Thanks, TikTok.
I know. It's so weird because they actually have no idea what they're talking about. They're using it like in the wrong context half the time.
It's so funny.
Bloop
Brown 5373. As someone from a small shithole town in Maryland who visits many small shithole towns in Pennsylvania growing up, Millwood isn't that far off. Also, can we talk about Chip's mom? I know she hasn't been in this season outside of episode 1, but she's definitely high on my suspect list. We've been saying this. Chip's mom is so integral, whether she is actually doing it, whether she's just a part of it, whether she's ganging out. Because we've talked about how we think there's more than one Rose. And
I think they show the cult of spooky spaghetti, but I think it's a group project this time. It's gotta be.
Right?
I don't know. Call me crazy, but in the original Pretty Little Liars, it was always like one of the girls being involved. So now I'm starting to get sussed out by like the girls themselves. Like I'm trying to figure out who would have a reason other than Imogen.
They wouldn't.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I can't think of anyone anymore. Now we're getting into this spiral of everyone that was on my list is getting absolved of what the hell they did, you know? They're all getting their alibis. So I'm like, okay, why haven't I explored the girls?
I mean, one person who was on my list jumped higher on the list, but we'll get there. For sure. We'll get there.
And I'm sending you guys a poster because I don't think I sent this to you. Jessica Larson 6358. I noticed that there was a promo poster of all the girls and it showed their final girl tests, which we didn't know when the poster originally kind of dropped, and it showed up on Reddit. It was shared by an official girl. I never saw this on the official Warner Brothers website because they put stuff up and take stuff down, like the Faran and Greg kiss at the pool was taken down because they cut it from last week's episode. You see that Mouse is surrounded by fire. Faran is holding up a log. Noah is running on thorns with a dog head behind her. Imogen is holding bloody clothes. And now Tabby looks like she's praying with Bloody Rose and two other figures behind her. So this poster that was like released and not released kind of gave away everyone's trials, which is a little crazy.
Okay. I saw this poster, but I thought it was fan art because it reminded me too much of like Yellow Jackets and Midsummer. So I thought for sure it was, I did not know this was official art. I thought it was fan art from something. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Somebody like drew all the girls' trials. Like,
that's what I thought too. And then I've had a lot of like people sending it to me on Instagram, people sending it to me on Twitter, being like, did you see this? Did you see this? And I'm like, I thought it was fake. I was with you guys, but it's been out for weeks before all the trials really started going down. So
does that mean our final girl is going to have the most crazy trial?
I don't know, because Tabitha did not have a trial this episode. It's very much a lot of setup. So I just wanted to show that to you guys so we could talk about it.
I also think Tabitha, but I think Tabitha of all of them is the most capable because of her movie knowledge, you know?
Exactly. That's why I feel like she probably will have the hardest challenge because she's not going to fall for any of the other very obvious tricks.
Okay. This is a really good poster though. I get it. But then we'll get to it. But I'm not very happy with Imogen's trial. So
yeah.
We'll get to my complaint
there. Jay Kisses, who she's awesome. She comments our whole video down. I love it. She's got a lot to say. Says, does the movie theater not have security cameras? Tabby could just pull up the footage and not only show Chip's mom that he confessed, but also the world that she didn't lie. And it's just something I never even thought about because Chip's entire confession happened at the movie theater last season.
My one thing I will say, because I grew up in a suburb of Los Angeles, and we have a historic theater in our town, like a historic, like protected landmark, all that shit. I have watched a bunch of movies there. I performed there. It is old as dust. So any kind of upgrade that they try and make to it usually does not take, or like the building just isn't, like you can't retrofit it for some of these things just because it is so old. And a lot of those old movie theaters are like social landmarks, like historical landmarks. So even if you wanted to like drill a hole in the wall, you have to file so much paperwork.
Yeah.
So I can totally see that the movie theater like not having security cameras just because it's such an old building. Like to try and retrofit it to put security cameras in is more like risk than reward.
Yeah. And a lot
of and then also with a small town, with coming from like small town type of suburb living, you know, I can say that because everything is so close together and like on top of each other, we kind of rely on each other to police the area, you know, like, who are you? What are you doing here? So I could see it not having cameras.
Absolutely. I would say a lot of businesses, especially in small town, are what's the word I'm looking for? They're not proactive. They wait for something to happen. And then once something happens, they might put up a Ring camera, you know? So if no one's ever broken into this movie theater, if it's always been a very safe neighborhood, there's really, they're going to rely on like the bank ATM camera across the street, you know, like it's very much one of those cities to me. I hope someone asked me to make sure we read one of their comments, and I really hope I got it. If not, let me know. I'm so sorry. We got a lot over the last couple weeks. So let's dive into episode 7. I kind of rearranged a couple things, just, you know, as always, go along the ride with me, guys. So this episode starts with Imogen having like a panic fantasy dream where she still has her mother, she still has her baby, and then Davy obviously turns really quickly into Bloody Mary, and then the cuts to the girls at the diner where Imogen is covered in blood, sitting in a very public space that no one is asking questions. We're just gonna go over here with that.
I also feel like that small town behavior, like the weirdest shit can be happening in a small town or a suburb, and you're just like, that's not my business. And and like 2 days later, you'll call your friend and you'll be like, girl, did you see Imogen at the diner covered in blood? And somebody's like, oh yeah, they went to Redemption House, blah, 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 blah. Like, you don't ask questions.
I was like, as weird as it is, because of the age of the kids, I would not question it because I was always doing the dumbest things in high school, you know? So like there are moments in the middle of the winter where I'm literally in a Denny's in a swimsuit, and it's because I went swimming in water fountains. Like, you know, like is it look weird? Absolutely. But you know, Well, that's what you do.
That's funny. I do like the girls. All of the girls were like, it's not your mom. Like, is it possible it's a mask? They all went down like the road of the mask with her. And Imogen is like panicking. She's like, wouldn't I know the difference between my mother and a mask? And they're like, look, you have been pushed towards a psychological break. All of us. Bloody Rose is trying to make this happen. And you've really hit that. And so she's trying to digest this. And then Tabitha realizes she's the final girl. And then I love that Faran is like, I remember all that we've learned in self-defense. I will be your personal bodyguard because I've been getting so strong this year. And I just thought that was really cute. And then I'm going to cut ahead a little bit to the scene of them figuring out who Bloody Rose is. Tabitha has the chalkboard. All the names are on there. We have the real Rose Waters, Dr. Sullivan, Kelly and Mrs. Beasley, Mrs. Langsbury, who's Chip's mom, and Deputy Maroon, who's on there. And because they have this huge list, it makes me think it's now none of them.
It makes me think it's one of them and some of them. And I'm just going to blow my load right now. I'm still convinced that Mrs. Beasley and Wes are involved. And I feel like that's part of the misdirection, that Wes was not on the board. So when he does pop up, everybody in the audience can be like, oh, because he wasn't on the board.
Yeah. Wes is one of the people that is always still so sus to me. And it just got worse because he disappeared for a while. And then now he's apparently like, doing his own thing. I don't know. Wes is definitely at the top of my list, and it has always been.
Yeah.
Especially because like creeps hire creeps. So I'm sure he hired Chip because they were birds of a feather who flocked together.
Exactly. And last season, I feel like the show was really good about surprising us, but keeping the killer someone who would always kind of like been in the background, been around, like it wasn't out of left field. And you're like, oh, I never would have suspected this person because we've never heard of them before. Like,
yeah,
we knew, about like the principal had been there the whole time, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So when it was like him in combination with Angela Waters' brother, it totally made sense. So I feel like they're going to go that route again, where it's someone who's been around.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Can I also just say, I just learned from TikTok that the actor who plays Wes is the guy who's playing Christian on Broadway in Moulin Rouge right now.
Okay, no, the only reason I gasped like that is because I saw Moulin Rouge 3 months ago, back in February. And I was like, oh, the guy playing Christian looks kind of familiar. And I just thought it's because one of my friends knows him.
Yeah, no.
And then I watched Pretty Little Liars and I'd be like, why does Wes look familiar? And I'd be like, I don't know. And so now it's just blowing my mind that they're the same person.
They're the same person. There was just like a TikTok with him and the girl. And I was like, wait. And I saw a comment that was like, yeah, he plays this character, but then he's Wes on Pretty Little Liars. So FYI, fun fact, I didn't know. So
he's also great in Moulin Rouge, BT Dubs. If you have the chance, go see it. He's fantastic.
When Sarah told me that, I was like, boy's got range. Great. Because like he's real good at being a creep, and I know the character very well of Moulin Rouge. So, that's great. You can do both, but you're still sus, and you're still on my list.
Right. Well, he's not on any of their lists. Their number one suspect is still Dr. Sullivan. And then I love that Imogen gives this ridiculous, like Oscar-worthy phone call in a panic for leaving Redemption House, full of tears. And then she snaps right out of it. And they're like, golf claps, girl, golf claps.
Amazing.
Sorry. So I want to jump to Noah really quick because I'm so over her. I'm really even more over her by the end of this episode. Jenna's apologizing her for breaking into Sean's house, and Noah's like, everything's fine. I still want to be with you, even though you've done all these things. And so she goes to break up with Sean. Sean is like blindsided by the entire breakup. He doesn't understand. She's like, we just don't feel the same. Don't you feel the same way? It's like, no, girl, he doesn't. He's madly in love with you. They're like, this is not the same. You are not on the same page. You're not even in the same book.
And then like the man emptied his bank account to bail your friend out of jail. Like,
yeah,
for a high school boyfriend. Like, he's going against everything his parents feel about you. Like, girl, he's deep, okay? He's deeply in love. And you're over here playing both sides.
And they built this beautiful...
I don't usually get a lot of second-hand embarrassment, but this is one time where I am like, I don't know if secondhand embarrassment is the right word or like what kind of discomfort it was, but every time watching her talk to Sean, I was just so uncomfortable, just deeply uncomfortable.
Yes. And it doesn't get better throughout the episode. Like Sean, I love the montage of Sean working out and then putting it together that it's Jen. So we don't get to see we don't get to see the confrontation, but like Noah comes home to Jen, like Sean came over. I was so nervous and he punched a hole in the wall. I was like, girl, he would have hurt you. He like punched the hole in the wall because she confirmed his suspicions and he's upset and he's hurt. I get it. And then Noah takes it so far, like Sean is in the wrong here. Girl, you've been cheating on this man for months and you take a bat to his car.
Listen, I will
violent
never
aggression deserves violent aggression, okay?
And I will never defend a man punching a hole in the wall, okay? Kyle, Sean, Chad, I don't care who you are. You're not going to be fucking up my mama's drywall.
Yeah, but it doesn't deserve that to his car. Like that's like
she took it. She took it far. But like I said, aggression deserves an aggressive response. You know, like I always say, like if you're gonna hit someone, you gotta expect to be hit back, you know? So if you're gonna wreck somebody's property, you gotta expect your property's gonna get wrecked too. Like it just happens. But yes, she did overreact. And also we had no actual like video confirmation, you know, like we didn't see him at her house. And Jen has this track record of being a fucking liar. Yes. So I'm also like, I can't just believe her. And I can't believe that Noah just believes her.
Up until Noah walked away with the baseball bat, I thought Sean was going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? I did not expect him to cop to it, and I didn't expect it to be real.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God, it's a lie. And then it was real.
But it's not like, I mean, he didn't say he punched the wall though, did he?
No, he doesn't say he didn't, like he owns up to it. So
he doesn't
no denial. Yeah. And he confirms that he was there.
Yeah, he was
there. He said he was there.
Yeah,
he says he was there, but like Jen plays the victim so good when she's the catalyst. Yeah. She's really good with those freaking white woman tears, man.
Yeah.
She's really manipulative. And she's a terrible first girlfriend for Noah.
Agreed.
I mean, isn't she though? Because most of my queer femme-loving friends, their first girlfriend story is always the worst. The most dramatic, most awful person you have ever met in your life.
So funny. Yeah.
That's kind of true, huh? But she's so much, okay? It's always like
so much.
It's like they cheat, they're unfaithful type of story. They're closeted type of story, not like I had to bail her out of jail 19 times and we met in juvie and she stole from me and she stole from my boyfriend and Jen is a whole new level, okay? I don't get how she keeps writing so hard for Jen because Jen doesn't have a good track record and Noah always figures her out. So
if you notice in all of the sharing, Noah didn't tell them anything about what Jen has done. She's only told them that she has feelings and that they were in juvie together. She did not say that she stole from her dad and Sean bailed her out. She's never told them that she stole from Sean's house. Because I think all these girls would be like, you're crazy. What are you doing?
Uh-huh.
She's only ever said they knew each other in juvie. And that they dated then and she wants to date her now. That's all they know. So they're super supportive of it because that's all they know. And I feel bad for him. I don't condone punching holes in walls either. It was very out of character for him. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he was already raging from working out. But I can't get behind. I can't get behind her smashing his car like that. I can get behind her confronting him because she should have, but I don't know.
And here's the thing. She went a little too far with smashing the car. Just like one headlight. Just one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a window.
Yeah. Because it almost feels like she's taking out her own guilt too, because she knows how in the wrong she was for all of this. And she's like trying to like gaslight him and flip it on him that he's to blame for everything. And I'm just like, girl, That's not where we're at. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, also, I feel like part of her is like so self-sabotaging too, because she's never felt like she kind of deserved her boyfriend, you know? And I think maybe she kind of looks at Jen like she's just like me, like because she's from juvie and like the same type of struggle, you know? So she reasons for Jen. Like she can't separate herself from that, like, you know, she's not her mother. She's not all the bad things that have happened to her. Like she was in juvie because of her mom, not because of anything she actually did, you know?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think like Noah's self-worth is so bad that she just like accepts the bullshit and hides for other people. And that's exactly what she's doing. Just like she does for her mom, she's hiding for Jen, you know?
Yeah. Accepting the love you think you deserve.
Mm.
I know, right? Deep. So let's jump over to Oscar performance Imogen, who goes to have her meeting with Dr. Sullivan. And then while there, she does that whole crocodile tears thing and then flips again on a dime. And she's like, but I think it's you. And Dr. Sullivan's just like, I'm sorry, what? And then we get all this information about Dr. Sullivan. So she tells her the story about how she met Archie Waters a long time ago, because during one of Rose's sessions, she talked about the boy in the cage that she left behind. So, you know, Dr. Sullivan's like, I gotta investigate, just like the girls. And so she goes to the house, sees that whatever was there is no longer in the cage. However, she whips around. And this is when we kind of get to see Archie's face for the first time. Because or like whatever her memory is of it, right? And it's like, it's not a boy, it's a feral creature. And his face was like blue. He had this crazy teeth. Like it was a mask, right? Because we're all going with masks.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it had to be a mask, right?
That's what I
It's
thought.
giving barbarian.
Yeah. I was like, I know. Oh, mom. So she calls the police and she leaves. And then she said that she always felt like she was being followed by Archie and like he was her boogeyman. And then she brings up her son, Sebastian. We've all been asking about the son, where the son has been from the original series. And allegedly he was the same age as the girls. He went for a jog and never came home. And then when they found his body days later, he had multiple stab wounds. He was laying on top of an A made of the logs. Keiki pointed this out when we were watching it.
I didn't see that. Damn. Now I'm thinking back. You're right.
Yeah.
Ah.
And so she's like, you know, she always felt like this was Archie's revenge against her for not doing enough for him, not doing enough for his mother. And she has so much guilt wrapped up in all of this, which is also why she really wanted to help the girls, because it's Archie Waters again. I'm just going to say, I don't know how much I believe this story.
I believe it on a surface level, but I do want to say these women are too curious. Okay. And why'd you go to the house? Don't be going to this house looking for this boy. Like, this is beyond your doctor responsibility.
White women were a little dumb. Okay.
I was going to say it. You said it.
I'm like, you're curious.
Too curious.
I'm not mad at her for going to the house. I feel like I'm dumb enough to do the same. If someone was just like so adamant that they left like anything in a cage, they were like, but my parakeet, or like I'd be like, homegirl says she has a parakeet, even though she's loony. Can we go check if there's a parakeet at her house? You know? So if they were like, I have a son locked in a cage, I'd be like, okay, she might be off the juice, but let's go look for the cage, you know?
The juice is not loose. Put that shit back in the jar.
I wouldn't have gone alone.
No. That's the thing. I would not have got alone. But yeah, so after she learns all this, Imogen goes to Johnny's house and she talks to him about, she also doesn't quite believe Dr. Sullivan. I'm just saying. Anyway, and because she's even looked up like the story and tried to find anything about it online. And I'm sorry, if someone was murdered, regardless, if, you know, when she goes to see the grave later, like there would be a story, there would be an obituary, there would be something. So that's also why I'm like, there's no way. And then she ends up sleeping over at Johnny's house where nothing happens, but she has the best sleep of her life because he makes her feel safe.
He's just a sweet little himbo.
I know. I want him to be too.
Yeah.
I like that actor a lot.
Yeah. Though Johnny's sus and we haven't met his parents or anything like that, I I do feel like if he was gonna pull something, he had all this opportunity with her being right there in the bed, and he didn't. So,
Not if he's
you
not the
know,
one pulling the strings, though. Like he's got there's a plan in place.
I guess, but she could have woke up locked in a cage, you know? She could have woke
Thank
up in a
you.
trial, like in a real trial, not this trial that she started on her own, whatever. Um, that's me in Imogen's trial. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Mouse. So Mouse is working at her parents' pawn shop, which I completely forgot even existed. I was like, wait, Mouse has a job? That her parents own a thing? Like, have we ever seen it since maybe once in season one? So completely forgot. And this father brings in her son, who's obviously a Bloody Rose follower. She's reading on Spooky Spaghetti that there's a blood atonement coming. And so she gets this bright idea because she feels it's her fault that she started this mythology, that she's going to dress up as Angela Waters, talk about reuniting with her mother, and that they're all at peace. Oh, Jordan's got thoughts. Jordan's got thoughts.
It just stresses me out. It was such a bad idea. Like, Mouse, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I know.
Mouse cannot be helped. And I'm so tired of her in Spooky Spaghetti. Like, all it does is create more drama for her. And she still just like rushes with the ideas towards it. And she never, ever, ever checks in with anyone before she does anything. And that to me is wild because of all the trials, hers was the scariest to me. So I'm just like, Mouse, you should be more afraid. Why aren't you afraid?
Yeah, she's not
This
scared.
is not the time to be fearless.
No. And then, of course, it backfires, and they start having all these comments and like suggesting that her grandmother is the first to be sacrificed in the reckoning, which is also terrifying because when Mouse gets home after talking with the girls, the real Rose Waters is just chilling on the couch with Lola. Why are we here?
Because Lola needs to be put away, y'all. Lola is not well.
There was also 2 seconds when Mouse was talking to her computer teacher, trying to see what they could do about Spooky Spaghetti. I thought for sure he was going to turn on her. The room was too dark and they were the only people in it. I was like, this man is about to kill this girl.
I told Sarah, why is he so willing to help her? Like, if a student came to me with some fuck shit like that, I'd be like, okay, but why? Like, you would have to have a really good lie for me to help you with something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever. Just nobody cares about anybody's wheeling and dealings in this town. They should be more nosy. I'm more nosy than that. And all I do is drink water and mind my business.
Well, let's talk about Tabitha, who is nosy. So she talks to Christian asking about making masks and what would go into making ones that look like people. We learn that Wes is alive because he rolls up and he is quitting the movie theater because apparently what Tabitha said to him sunk in and he felt it in his soul. And so now he's going to leave Millwood to go to LA and move in with his buddy that works for A24 and try and get a job.
His
Of
friend
course,
doesn't
it's
work for A24.
A24.
His friend is a fucking intern for A24. That's not a real, like, you go move to LA with your friend who's an intern for A24. Y'all are about to have 9 roommates and the rent still ain't gonna be paid on time.
Exactly. Y'all aren't eating. Y'all are living off Little Caesars, okay? And Top Ramen. Like, I was just like, we're gonna work for A24. Okay, cool. Like that's every hipster bro's dream, right? Like I know people have interned for A24. It really doesn't pan out to anything. Sorry, A24, but it doesn't because it's an indie like distributor, you know. They pick and choose people who have already got the plans and the ideas done, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, okay, sure.
And this is why I don't believe him, and he's still at the top of my suspect list because I think he was making those masks, first of all, and secondly, that is a real thin story to tell. That story is paper thin.
Yep. Yep. Because he also like apologizes to them and makes them co-managers. Like it's very weird. It made me feel like I was missing something. Like I'm like, we missed a beat.
Also, how dare you make me a co-manager with Christian? He doesn't deserve it. He's the new guy.
For 3 days.
Yeah, get out of here.
I know. I said that maybe because they're both underage, they can't technically be managers, but I don't know. I was just like, what it would be, you know.
Of the movie theater, I'm pretty sure when my friends worked at the movie theater, their manager was like the same age as them.
And then Christian's like so excited. He's like, let's do a Black Noir horror festival. And Tabitha's like, I don't know. Something's weird. And then all of a sudden, this dude named Billy Crane shows up. And I feel like that name is important for somewhere. Maybe it's a horror name because they like to do that. Saying that he's a location scout for a new horror movie. There's going to be a Millwood Massacre horror movie directed by Ari Aster, who is going to be starring Emma Roberts and Sydney Sweeney, which is hilarious.
It was like the most, like the worst names they could have chosen. No offense to those actors, but like in relation to this story.
Yeah, it was done on purpose. They picked like the whitest of white women.
Oh yeah.
It's so like of horror women because they've both done horror things. And I just thought that was hilarious. Yeah. And I really hope they make a cameo. If they do.
My thought was like, couldn't we have picked Mia Goth because she's like at least like an interesting looking white woman? I don't know if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah, no, she's like so cool looking. And then Tabitha ends up staying over at Christian's, but unlike Imogen, she has nightmares. She has the nightmare that the movie's being made, directed by Wes, and Chip is his AD. I'm like, isn't that so interesting? The nightmares have flipped, that Imogen is comfortable and Tabitha's with Christian and uncomfortable. So I just think that's interesting. It might come into play later. And Tabitha gets the idea. She's like, screw their movie. I'm going to make my own movie. And Christian's like, hold on, no. Like, aren't you like the final girl? Should we just get out of town? We'll figure this out later. You know, she's like, no, I'm not going to leave my girls behind. Bloody Rose can follow me anywhere. I'm filming on August 1st. And I'm just like, he's got good ideas, though. You maybe should get out of town.
Right. I'm glad that somebody has their head screwed on straight because Christian was like, well, you have other things to worry about right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Christian was a suspect and look at him with the good ideas. I was like, so I don't know. Maybe he's further down my list now.
I don't know. So we then go into this girlfriend download, which is actually my favorite download of the season. I know some other things happen, but we'll get there. I'm holding off Faran and Kelly for a reason. Because this is actually the time they share, because they never share. We have the girls talking about how they just slept over. I love how each girl has their own reaction. Like Noah's really disappointed in them just sleeping. Farron's like, at their own pace, it's fine. And Mouse is just like full of glee. Like I think they're so, so cute. Imogen tells them the story and they all actually of Dr. Sullivan, and they all actually have an opinion. Because so many times it's like sharing what happened. And then they don't share their thoughts.
That's why I like that one so much, because it was really like thoughts and feelings and reactions, not just like, this thing happened to me, but like this, to me, it felt more natural, like how you actually talk to your girlfriends, where you're giving them the overview of your life, and then people are injecting their opinions or their advice or, whatever.
Exactly. It was the first real girlfriend conversation. I was like, okay, here we go. An actual girlfriend conversation. This is how you talk to your friends and catch them up on what's been happening away from each other. And reactions were had, and it was also like, how did we get here when we wouldn't even talk about the roses in the first episode, first few episodes? Like,
I know. I did think it was interesting, and we'll talk about Faran in a second, but like Faran does not share that Greg stayed over, so like only the other two girls do. She kept that shit to herself. So
I would too.
I would too.
Yeah, I would too, to be fair. But then Imogen gets a call from Dr. Sullivan saying that she can prove her story to her. And so she takes her to her son's grave. And I'm like, what does this prove? This could literally be anyone.
Listen,
with the last name.
I still believe it is her son's grave, but that doesn't prove that anything else that she said happened. It just proves that she had a son and he died. And that was kind of the part that got on my nerves, I guess, because like it doesn't prove anything.
But what makes her want to prove it to her, Like what makes her go sit home and think like, Actually, let me call Imogen and be like, do you want some proof? Like,
well, Imogen said if she couldn't verify her story, she was going to beat her ass, basically. And trust me, I believe in Imogen. She be jumping on it. She flips on a dime, okay? She probably can beat that woman's ass.
Which is why Imogen needs to be a suspect, okay?
Especially after this, because Imogen goes to see her mom's grave, sees the roses on Karen's grave, which we'll talk about Kelly in a second. And then she goes to look for Dr. Sullivan, but she can't find her. And instead, she finds the car wide open with rose petals all covering the front seat. And that's where we'll end that Imogen story. Unless you guys have thoughts, because you guys, I feel like you guys think it's Imogen. Do you think Imogen is having a mental break and she's murdering everyone?
Absolutely not. I don't think Imogen's involved at all.
I think Imogen is having a mental break and is murdering people. I think Imogen is getting her own revenge for her mama because she thinks her mama probably had some crazy guilt from what they did to Angela that she never got over, and her friends just separated from her and ignored her, and the guilt finally ate her alive and she killed herself. You know, I think Imogen might have the most reasoning, and after her trial being Redemption House, which was her plan to go to, her plan to like put on mask and whatever, and then all of a sudden that becomes her trial. I was like, wait, no. This is your trial because you saw your mom and everyone's accepting this. Like, how would Bloody Rose know that this was happening? Like, why wouldn't it be more complex, you know? So I'm just like, okay, this is so sus. Imogen, I don't know why I wasn't looking at you before. Maybe because I was like, you have so much hurt. But now I'm like, yeah, you have so much hurt. Therefore, you have motive. You have reasoning. I don't know.
I like it. I'm not in the it's one of the liars camp yet. I feel like it's so early to do something like that.
It's early, but I also am thinking about the previous show and I was like, why haven't I put a liar in the camp? And if I was going to put a liar in that camp, Imogen.
I'm not there. I'm not there.
I like it though. There are others out there that have made comments about it. I just haven't read them. So go into the comments of Smells Like Teen Eggs, Keiki, and join your people. Faran, let's talk about Faran. And I'm going to kind of intertwine Faran and Kelly because their story connects. So Greg comes over to check on Faran, and of course they make out. She invites him up to her room and he spends the night. There was a kiss in the Pride episode that was cut. They originally had a picture on the Warner Brothers website that they took down, but it was going around. So it is a cut scene, which is interesting. And I think that was smart. I think that would have taken away from what they were trying to do. So I think that was a good idea.
I think it needed more of a build-up because he was such a dick earlier. So I definitely think it needed more build.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the worst. He's done nothing to redeem himself. So
yeah, right. I still don't like it, but at least they built to it.
Yeah, he's changing. He's changing. He went to the church. He's like, he's apologized. He's like, yeah, I've owned up to being an asshole. He's done more than Jen has. I'm just gonna point that out.
You got me there.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But again, I am team why Jen? And why are none of your friends saying anything about this?
They don't know the truth. They don't know the story. I appreciate that Greg is making an effort. I don't think he needs to be with Faran yet. That's where I'm at on that whole thing. And like overall. So Faran goes to talk to Kelly because that's one of the things she's like, I'm going to go talk to her. And apparently dead Pastor Malachi left a voicemail shutting down Redemption House because he doesn't feel it's safe. So either there's a man involved or they've got the voice changer from Scream to make someone sound like Pastor Malachi. Faran then tells Kelly about Bloody Rose and everything that's been going on and suggests that she thinks it might be Kelly's mom. And Kelly, of course, is like, it's not my mom. There's no way. And then she's like, well, what about Sandy, who we, the viewer, know is dead, but everyone else thinks is at the Cape. So she also lets Kelly know to look out for a bunch of red roses. And Kelly's like, red roses? what do you mean my red roses? And I'm like, see, something hit you, girl. So Kelly calls Sandy's mom because Kelly's like, I'm gonna investigate. And Sandy's mom is like, oh, she's been working at the Redemption House. She texts me every night. Now, this might be a generational thing, but there is no way my mother would accept a text message. She needs to hear my voice.
No, it would see my fly for like maybe a week.
A day.
Right.
Then I'd have to call.
Even at my big old age, which is deep within my 30s, if I am gone for multiple days, and she knows this, by like the fourth day, I still need to call.
Yeah, and she would call me. She wouldn't accept a text message multiple times. She would be like, call me back whenever.
No. The only time I get away with not calling is like if I'm in the desert and I don't have any reception, and she still makes me share my location. And when my phone blips out, she's like, oh, Lord Jesus, she in the middle of nowhere.
It's like when they have your location, you're like in the ocean.
Yeah.
You're like, yep, she did. So Kelly goes to talk to her mother because her mother's the one, and Pastor Malachi are the ones who said that Sandy was in the Cape. And her mother is tending a rose garden. However, I will say it is a rose garden that is not big enough for Noah's trial.
Absolutely not.
No. So point that out. And then Kelly suggests, Kelly's mom brushes it off. It's like, oh, but it was, Pastor Malachi who told me the information. So I could be wrong. It's like very smart, mom. And then she suggests that we drive to the cemetery to visit Karen and bring her fresh roses. And while at that grave, Kelly's mom goes on this whole diatribe about blaming the girl, Archie, for Karen's death, like in the end, but overall also blames the girls for her being there anyway. So we have been suspecting Kelly's mom for a long time, Mrs. Beasley. And I'm like, this wasn't quite the sinister evil villain confession that we've had in the past, but it could be a step there or a really good red herring.
I mean, it was sus enough for Kelly to react, So therefore, I was like, if your own kid is turning on you.
Right, yeah. I still have questions, but I can see where we're going. I can see where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And I love, like, they get home and Kelly's like, we should go in the prayer closet, Mom. Let me make you some tea. And she drugs her mother, locks her in the prayer closet, and calls Faran. She's like, Faran, I think you're right about my mom. So jumping back over to Faran, who got a complaint from the kid that she fired, the guy who was literally sleeping on the job and hungover and a child almost died. And this coach is not taking anything but his complaint seriously, calling her bullying and wrongful termination. And I'm like, I would be like, open the case, turn on the cameras. There has to be pool cameras. I'm like, maybe. And she calls her mom, and her mom gives her a great mother pep talk, telling her that even if she doesn't believe it yet, I will tell you until I have no breath that you are strong enough and you are tough enough. And until you believe it, I'll keep telling you that. Mm-hmm. And so then we see Faran like literally step up to the coach and be like, here's a letter from the mother of the child I saved. And she's saying exactly what happened. Here's my captain's log talking all the shit that you don't even know about because it's negligent and all the things I've dealt with. Please call my mother, who is a lawyer, and all her lawyer friends if you have any questions. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Good job, girl.
Good job, girl. But also made me so mad because like men supporting men, standing up for men. Like, I was like, excuse me, you hired her and made her the lead of all these people. So that means you should trust her and trust what she says, because you gave her that position of power. You thought of everyone in this group, she was the most capable. So you're just going to turn on her like that and be like, oh, well, we have to investigate it. Like, you need to be like, step away. And I was just like, okay, bro.
Yeah. If anything, he's like, yeah, we have to investigate it because it's a complaint, but I'm on your side. So get me everything that I need to protect you.
Protect
you.
Like
what that which is the conversation that should have happened. But, it didn't. Faran gets that message from Kelly about her mom and goes to meet her at the pool. But before she can get in there, we see Bloody Rose sneaking up behind Kelly. And then Faran arrives and finds Kelly. I'm using air quotes because until I see a face, I'm not sure. Floating in the pool. And we see Bloody Rose Waters outside the gate. Ching, ching. With her knife. Ching,
So
ching.
I really think that this end of this episode is putting all the girls in a position to be abducted so they can all be brought to the same place and confronted, much like last season finale, just because we have Imogen with the car, and then Farron's clearly getting baited with Bloody Rose and Karen. We don't know or Kelly. We don't know if that's Kelly's body. Mouse and Lola and Bloody Rose. Like the episode ends for basically everyone in like this really weird position of like, huh?
Yeah. So wait, where's
the next
Tabitha?
episode is the finale, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, next episode's the finale. You know, there's still people out there that believe Kelly is Karen pretending to be Kelly. And I love this because I hope it's true. Yeah, it's so weird. Like I felt like for this to be the penultimate episode, it was kind of odd. Right? We got information. It wasn't overly cliffhangery. I did see, and I'm not sure if it was the official Pretty Little Liars Twitter or like a fan account that was like RIP Kelly. So Kelly might actually be dead. And I think that's a big move if they kill her to be like, and I like that actress. So I don't know, we'll see.
I feel like it could be misdirection.
It feels like misdirection to me. And like, you know, Pretty Little Liars wanted to kill the Mona and Kelly's the Mona. So I can't believe that Kelly's dead, you know, especially like Farron can do some CPR, pull her out that pool, resuscitate her, move things along.
Right. Because if she there was blood in the water, right? So like she's been stabbed. Doesn't mean she's dead. Depends on how long maybe she's been in the water. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm very curious to see. And like, as our viewers know, listeners know, we don't watch trailers, so we don't know what's coming next. We come into all this blind, which is, I think, more fun anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the reveal because our guesses have been all over the place. So let me ask you both one final time. Who is Bloody Rose Waters, or who is involved with Bloody Rose Waters?
Wes and Mrs. Beasley.
I'm gonna go with Chip's mom and Mrs. Beasley. Possibly Wes and Imogen. But you know.
Yeah. I like Mrs. Beasley and Chip's mom, and either Wes or there's a Johnny reveal coming, and whether it's something to do with this, I don't know. I just feel that way. I can't let it go. But they needed a man's voice, and so Wes could be the man. We'll just have to wait and see until next week.
I know. All
I'm
right.
excited.
Well,
and we get to watch with all of you. I put up a poll, so this is it. We're not live tweeting. This is it. This is what we're doing. No one wanted our opinions early, which I appreciate.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it because I'm gonna be out of town next week. So
yeah, we're figuring it out. We are figuring out next week. Watching these live with you makes our scheduling very hard. I'm literally going to end this recording and go edit it for everybody. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next week for the Pretty Little Liars Summer School finale.
Bye.